Good afternoon. At first, I would like to say that this nice video is actually the greeting from Antarctica, or on the way to Antarctica, because one of the members of our Polar Club, Captain Janus Hannes, he can't be with us because he is on his ship on the way to Antarctica. But he likes to make photos, movies, and this is his greeting. So, now our subject is influences in polar research. No, influences are everywhere. It's so that can't be without okay. The polar regions have long captured the imagination of explorers, scientists, and policymakers alike. Today, we will dive into the fascinating intersections of history, science, and geopolitics that define these remote and rapidly changing areas of our planet. And this session is a celebration of the people, institutions, and ideas that have shaped polar research over the years, and those that continue to influence it today. And the subject in this block is very different, as the influences are very different. I will talk about the Estonian Polar Club, and because 40 years, you can imagine how many influences there have been. But I make a short introduction. Who are the others? So after me, there will be Dr. Fridtjof Melum, president of the Norwegian Polar Club. He will bring us tales of Arctic exploration with his talk on the Norwegian explorer Hans Henrik Hansen and his Arctic adventures. But you know, Mr. Hansen, maybe he had his adventures together with some people who came from here, with some Baltic Germans. Who knows? He will examine this subject. His extensive knowledge of polar history promises to offer us a wide picture of the challenges and triumphs of early Arctic explorers. Then we shall then pivot to the contemporary, as Professor Valur Ingimundarson discusses the Arctic and nation branding. A look how Arctic narratives are framed politically, particularly through the Arctic Circle Assembly. His insights into the interplay of geopolitics and national identity are sure to provoke thought. Then Rachel Gosnell will follow, providing a strategic perspective of the Arctic with her talk on the US strategic approach to the Arctic. It's sorry that she is not with us here in this room, but she will join via internet. Given the increasing focus on the region as a global crossroads, her military and academic expertise will shed light on the security dimensions of Arctic governance. To close the session, we shall explore how climate warming affects biotic interactions, aerosols, and sustainability of polar environments. Researchers like Anneli Poska, Hele Kiimann, Professors Heikki Juninen and Mikko Sipila will guide us through these critical and interconnected topics. The block is packed with rich insights, fascinating stories, and immortal reflection on how the past and present shape the future of polar research. But let us start now with the first presentation. So, some words about this mark. You have seen it everywhere. It's so that it's Estonian, very historical ship. It looks like a Viking ship, but it's not. It's similar. and where we sail in the middle of the oceans of the world. In the north is Arctic, in the south Antarctic. Why this shape? Because it's the first logo of Estonian Maritime Museum. Maritime Museum was established in 1935. And so we sail together with Maritime Museum. I honestly think we have not existed 40 years without such a good cooperation. So, the club was founded on the 1st of December 1984. Everything started because of the Antarctic exhibition. The first exhibition in Estonia that was done at all about Antarctic. And why we chose this date? Well, of course, it's the 1st of December, very important to all polar people, because the Antarctic Treaty was signed on the 1st of December, and everybody celebrates the Antarctic Day today. At least we celebrate not only Antarctic Day and our birthday of the club, and you all celebrate because of it we have the conference now. Yeah, then there are a lot of questions. Why museum? Polar researchers and by the museum. But why not? 40 years ago, there were discussions under which institute, under which university it will be good to start. But there are always some administrative, who knows, influences and troubles. By the museum, it was easiest at that time. And believe me, it's now also. Because you never know how the budgets of the institutes are, or what happens around. And so we joined the people with common interest in the Arctic and Antarctic. And mainly we are the researchers, polar researchers. But with us are a lot of others who have influenced the polar research, who have supported it in a very different ways. You can't imagine how rich is the variety of supporters. You can do it via art, or via a maritime trip, or lot of. So the founding of the club, it's the picture. Who were with us yesterday in the Savomägi Tower? Nowadays there is exposition. There are navigational instruments in this room. But 40 years ago, it was such like a small cafe. And the first president, Jüri Martin, academician, who sends his best greetings, but he's too ill at the moment to be with us. And it's such a nice young boys from the 60s. Very famous people. Krem, Andres Tarand, famous penguin. At that time it was possible to get in closer contact with them. Kaup, Rein Männik, Vello Park. So it's the first famous generation of Estonian polar researchers. Nowadays, you will hear later tomorrow already the son of Vello Park, Indrek Park. The objectives. So I very quickly, because give overview of what we are doing, where we are doing. So mainly we bring together the people who have participated in polar research. And we try to introduce and popularize the subject to the wider public. And also consult with polar issues. Whoever needs, some high officials or journalists or school people, children, And of course, we assist Maritime Museum in preserving the Estonian polar heritage, because during these years, there is the collection of photos, documents, items in Maritime Museum collections. Estonian polar heritage, but not only. It's so that nobody is alone there in the Arctic or Antarctic. Usually you are with somebody else, with some other countries, with other institutes. So it's valuable material. We are small. There are over 30 members and some foreign members in other countries with whom we have close relations. Most of the members have a background in research, and they have taken part in many expeditions, research trips, but new members are invited, not simply so. They must have recommendations of 2 existing members. Now, the presidents of Polar Club have been Jüri Martin, Enn Kaup, Vello Park, Andres Tarand, and from this year, Andres Kollist. Some photos. It's 10 years ago. No, it's more than 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago. The Fat Margaret has changed around us. And as I mentioned, we have these polar collections. What are the biggest? Ships. You do not have time today to visit, but one of the most famous icebreakers in the world, the biggest, is icebreaker Suur Tõll, built in 1914. We are very proud to organize some of our events there. And then the other is former Coast Guard vessel, Valvas, built in USA. The first name was Bittersweet. It's also a nice place. There have been the event as it's built in USA. There was this, their embassy, together with their embassy, we have had there nice meetings. And every year we celebrate our winter holidays there. They have very nice sauna. Don't believe that the sauna was built there in Alaska where the ship first worked. It's really so that the first thing that when Estonians get to the ship, what do they build there? Sauna. And still works well. Oh, and this is harbor where they are. We will all go today in this seaplane harbor to celebrate this conference. Now some activities. Oh, there are many. But not all are open to the public. Polar forums, polar evenings, once a month, but except the summer we have the meetings. And sometimes conferences, but never, ever we had such a big as now. So we are very happy that you are here. And we can do it together. Very important is popularization of polar research. Now you can work and measure this and that, but nobody knows about it. Or when it's only in a very special magazine. It's very valuable, but important is to show to the world, because the world needs us. Then celebration of important polar anniversaries, activities for the young people, about this I'll tell later, and networking, of course, with polar organizations, clubs, museums, embassies, whoever wants, with pleasure. One of the biggest events where our people participated, it was Expedition Antarctica 200. One of the most important persons who have organized it is also in this room, Maris Pruuli. But she has written a lot of books about it. But what I want to say, it's okay, we wanted to celebrate the invention in Antarctica. But How to involve the whole world. We started with the ship and stopped in these harbors, in these museums, places where there are other important polar museums, polar institutes. For example, as in Oslo, and Norwegian Polar Club helped us, from museum helped us, United Kingdom, Cambridge, Scott Polar Research Institute, Bob is sitting also there, who helped a lot. So many seminars, so many meetings. Never in such a huge scale, geographically, politically, internationally. Very unique. And this is this famous ship, Admiral Bellingshausen, which did this trip. But another ship, polar ship, that just was in our harbor last summer, French polar research ship Tara, very famous. All the polar ships are very welcome to our harbor. Okay, different conferences, exhibitions, Arctic months. Very good partner is Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They love Arctic subjects, and we also. So it's a lot of possibilities to do nice things together. Big Estonian polar forums were when we celebrated 100 years of diplomatic relations between Norway and Estonia. It was 2 years ago. Then lot of activities. Now what I want to show, polar bear. We love polar bears. I know we love maybe more than people in Norway, because we celebrate every year International Polar Bear Day on the 27th of February, together with Tallinn Zoo, together with Estonian bears, with Estonian polar bears. Because what's good for the bear is good for the polar researcher or polar captain. The same important questions. Now about the young people. We organize polar quizzes. And who are successful, the winners have the possibilities to go to the expedition, to go to the real polar expedition together with the researchers, and to feel it, to enjoy it or hate it. And very popular has been a lot of participants all over Estonia, from all places. The first group was in 2017. One of these winners, actually in this room, she is already a polar researcher. Here she had the label, I want to be a polar researcher. Now the next group, 2019, and she studies in Tromsø University just now, and was in UNIS in Svalbard University also. And the last trip, we have cooperation with Finland, with Helsinki University, who has the research station in Kilpisjärvi. You know, it's a good place. It's such a place where borders of 3 countries meet. Norway, Sweden, Finland, a lot of possibilities to show more. And Norwegian Polar Institute has been a nice partner, has received us. Oh, and when I raised my eyes, I also met some people who are here on the picture. That if you like it, then you can't avoid it. You will continue. If not a polar researcher, then polar fan. And for fans and for friends, it's the final slide. Our books. This was in 1992. This was printed a week ago. Yeah, but now I have, as I have used to do, be responsible. Now I have You do not have time to ask questions, that's it. I have done it. And now I'm so happy that we have the friends, another club, Norwegian Polar Club, and we have here President of Norwegian Polar Club, Senior Scientist, Fridtjof Melum, please.